Good morning, children. Today we will begin with our last topic in evolution, and that is variations. No two organisms are exactly identical. They have certain remarkable differences. These differences are called variations. Variations include all changes in morphological, physiological, and behavioral characteristics. On the basis of heritable nature, variations are of two types: somatogenic or somatic and germinal or blastogenic variation. So, no two organism, even the twins, they differ from each other in one or two, in some aspects. So, variations are no two organisms are exactly identical and they possess remarkable differences. Now, as I told you that variations are of two types, we begin with the first one, and that is somatic variations. These variations cause local changes on the constitution of the organism, and since they are somatic, they are non-heritable. That means they are not transmitted from one generation to the next. These are confined only up to a particular organism and lost with death of the organism. These are insignificant from evolutionary point of view. So, somatic variations are local change on the constitution of the organism and are non-heritable. Now, germinal or blastogenic or genetical variations are produced due to changes in the germplasm of the organism. These are, as you know, the germplasm of the organism has changed, so they are heritable variations. They are significant from evolutionary point of view. Now, how do these variations occur? What are the sources of these variations? The first most common is mutation. Any heritable change in the genetic makeup or the genotype of the organism other than which is caused by simple recombination of genes is called mutation. So, it is a sudden heritable change in the genetic makeup of an organism. The factors causing mutation are called mutagens or mutagenic agents, and the first scientific study of mutation was carried out by T.H. Morgan in 1910. Mutation theory was proposed by Hugo de Vries. Now, second important source of variation is gene recombination and hybridization. Since the genes are coming from two parents, one from the mother and the father, so gene recombination and hybridization or sexual reproduction in simple is a source of variation. In all sexually reproducing organisms during gametogenesis, crossing over result in new gene combination. Further, random union of male and female gametes during sexual reproduction also forms new combination of genes that result in variation. Now we come to the theory of mutation. Any heritable change in the genetic makeup of the organism is called mutation, and this was introduced by Hugo de Vries 1848 to 1935 for large and suddenly appearing discontinuous variations. Mutational changes occur in the germplasm of the organism. They may be in the genes. They are not somatic. They are occurring, they are or genetic, or you can call them germinal or blastogenic, and these occur in the germplasm and may be in the genes or in the number and structure of chromosome. And the first scientific study of mutation was carried by T.H. Morgan in 1910. Now we come to the mutation theory of de Vries. Mutation theory was proposed by Hugo de Vries 1848 to 1935. He was a Dutch botanist and independently carried out his experiments with Oenothera lamarckiana, evening primrose plant. On the basis of his experiments in 1901, he proposed the mutation theory, which states that evolution is a sudden and jerky process and new species are formed by mutation or discontinuous variations. Let us go through the main postulates of the theory. Mutations are large and sudden and completely different from fluctuations and small variations. They are large and sudden. They are heritable and give rise to the origin of new species. They may occur in any direction. They are subjected to natural selection. Useful mutations are selected by nature and harmful are eliminated. Mutations always appear full-fledged. Therefore, there is no significance of rudimentary or incipient changes in the development of the organ. The same kind of mutation may independently occur in a number of individuals of same species. Evolution is a discontinuous, jerky and sudden process. So these were the main postulates of the mutation theory of de Vries. Criticism of mutation theory. Davis, Gates and Morgan raised certain points of objection. Oinothera lamarckiana, the evening primrose on which Rees carried out his experiment, was not a normal homozygous plant. In fact, it was a hybrid. Hence, results obtained by de Vries were not true. Most of the mutations are retrogressive. That means in a deteriorative direction, going back to worse. Most of the mutations are recessive in nature and hence are normally not expressed in progeny. Their natural mutations are not as common as was considered by Rees. They are usually rare, and this theory is also unable to answer the phenomena like mimicry, mutual dependence, etc. Then came the modern theory of mutation. Mutations are universal and they occur in all living organisms. They occur at random. Mutation results as a change in the germ plasm of an organism. Mutation affecting only the germ cells, not the somatic cells. Mutations affecting only germ cells are heritable. They can be dominant, they can be recessive. However, recessive ones are more frequent. Mutation is the only known method by which different forms of a gene are formed. Mutations are of all magnitudes. Mild mutations are more common than severe mutation, and mutation alone does not produce new species. It only provides raw materials for evolution. Darwin's theory was accepted with certain modifications, and these modifications were made by Hugo de Vries, E. Haeckel, Huxley, Hendrick, Weismann and Mendel. This modified version of Darwinism is called Neo-Darwinism, and you also call it the modern synthetic theory of evolution. So this is important, the modern synthetic theory of evolution. The important points of Neo-Darwinism are that population is the unit of evolution, and evolution can be caused by any one or a combination of the given factors. Like first is genetic variations. Variations are passed on to the next generation. They are called heritable or genetic, and they provide raw materials for evolution. And from where do these genetic variations come from? They come by mutation, gene recombination, hybridization or genetic drift. Now, mutations are a permanent change in the genotype of the organism. They may be due to change in the structure, number of chromosomes, that they are called chromosomal aberrations, or change in the structure of gene. Single step large mutations are called saltation. Rees emphasized the importance of saltation in evolutionary process. Gene recombination leads to genetic variation. These are new combination of genes, and naturally these combinations are produced by crossing over of genes during gamete formation. Hybridization. In sexually reproducing organisms, two different genomes of male and female gametes they fuse, and then the zygote is formed. And when this process of mixing of genomes takes place, you call it hybridization, that helps in rearrangement and alteration in the nature of genes. Genetic drift is the change in the frequency of the gene. In small population, gene frequency is not constant. Some genes become more frequent while others are reduced in number. This also helps in production of genetic variation. Then comes natural selection. Organisms which are better adapted to their environment have better chances of survival. Like you've done the survival of the fittest or natural selection. Other organisms which do not adapt themselves according to the changing environment become extinct. Nature thus selects only the fittest and gives them a chance to survive. Then there is a role of isolation. Isolation is a separation of a group of population from other members of the population by means of some barriers. They can be geographical barriers, so that number of separated groups are unable to interbreed. So whenever there is a geographical barrier or some other sort of a barrier and an individual becomes isolated, what happens? They are unable to interbreed with the members of the main population. This isolated group gradually becomes different from the members of the population and a new species is thus formed. Then origin of new species. Variations and isolating mechanisms help in gradual modification of organisms. The slowly modifying organisms over a long period become completely different from the original members and thus new species are evolved. Now we come to Hardy-Weinberg principle. The principle says that in a large population, the gene or allele frequencies are stable and they remain constant from one generation to generation. The gene pool, total genes and their alleles in a population is called a gene pool. Gene pool also remains constant. This is called genetic equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Sum total of all the allelic frequencies is 1. When frequency differs from expected values, the difference indicates the extent of evolutionary change. Disturbance in genetic equilibrium, that is change of frequency of alleles in a population, is called genetic drift and it is interpreted as a result in evolution. Now suppose we have to find out the allelic frequency of gene A, and gene A has two alleles, a dominant capital A and a recessive A. Individual frequencies for A and A are P and Q. So gene frequency for A is P, gene frequency for small a is Q respectively. The probability that an allele A with a frequency of P appearing on both the chromosomes of a diploid individual is simply the product of the probabilities P square. So, in a diploid organism, capital A individual, the frequency would be P square. You know, alleles, they are always found in pairs. Similarly, the frequency of small a would be Q square. Similarly, the frequency of A small a would be 2pq. So, how will you derive that mathematically, the Hardy-Weinberg principle or equation? According to Hardy-Weinberg principle, the sum total of all allelic frequencies for a gene is 1. So, p square plus q square plus 2pq is equal to 1. And this is a binomial expression of p plus q whole square. Now, what factors affect Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? 5 factors are known to affect Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium and include gene migration or gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, genetic recombination, and natural selection. So, gene flow and genetic drift. Rest we have done, so we'll stress upon gene flow and genetic drift. When migration of a section of population to another place and population occurs, gene frequencies change in the original as well as in the new population. When migration of a section of population to another place and population occurs, then the gene frequencies change in the original as well as in the new population. New genes are added to the new population and these are lost from the old population. If this process occurs for multiple times, it is called gene flow. But if it occurs suddenly as a matter of chance, you call it genetic drift. So, genetic drift is inversely related to Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium and is seen usually in small isolated populations. Now, examples of genetic drift. First is founder effect. When a small segment of a population becomes geographically isolated from the main population, genetic drift occurs very rapidly. Sometimes genetic drift is so significant that the new segment of the population becomes very much different from the old population and leads to the formation of new species. This original drifted population now becomes the founder for the subsequent generation, and this effect is called founder effect. So here what has happened, that a geographical barrier has come between species of the same population. Those species that are isolated, they cannot breed with the original population, so they start interbreeding with a new population. So genetic drift takes place and they become the founder of subsequent generation, and this is called founder effect. Next is bottleneck effect. Sometimes a species has to face sudden and drastic changes in the atmosphere. As a consequence, most of the individuals die without passing on their genes to their descendants. The surviving members of this small population reproduce again, resulting in the growth of a large population in subsequent generation. But these individuals have now a small gene pool, which results in an extraordinary reduction in genetic diversity of the species, since most of the diversity was lost at the time of bottleneck. Thus, it is an example of genetic drift due to genetic erosion in the gene pool of a population. Why? Because most of the individuals, without passing on their genes to the descendants, they died. And surviving members of this small population reproduce again, resulting in growth of a large population. Now we'll do the types of natural selection and species stabilization. Natural selection operates in different ways. Generally, it occurs in three types of ways. First is stabilizing, directional, and disruptive natural selection. In stabilizing, a way of natural selection where more individuals acquire mean character value. Such populations are most stable ones. Directional, it is a way of natural selection where more individuals acquire value than the mean character value, and this leads to speciation. Disruptive, it is a way of natural selection where more individuals acquire peripheral character value at both ends of the distribution curve. So with this we complete evolution, and you don't have evolution of man in your syllabus this year. So we will now start with revision, and I have today already sent you the MCQs. Just try and solve the MCQs since we have completed our syllabus, and tomorrow I will try and give you the solutions of the same. Thank you.